Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're journeying into the shadows, into a world where ambition and desperation collide with supernatural forces. We're going to unravel the dark and fascinating history of one of the most enduring tropes in folklore and literature, the Witches' Pact. What exactly is it? Where did this idea come from? And how did it evolve from a simple folk belief into a terrifying instrument of persecution? The concept is chillingly simple. A mortal seeking power, knowledge, wealth, or revenge makes a deal with a demonic entity. In exchange for their soul, they are granted supernatural abilities. This is the essence of the Hexenpakt, or Witches' Pact. It's a story we've seen countless times, from the legendary tales of Dr. Faustus to modern horror films. But its roots go much deeper than fiction. They are tangled in the very real history of religious belief and social paranoia. To understand the Witches' Pact, we first need to look at its origins. Early Christian theology didn't initially focus on pacts. The devil was seen as a tempter, a liar, and an adversary, but the idea of a formal, contractual agreement wasn't a central part of the doctrine. Early saints' lives, like that of Saint Theophilus of Adana from the 6th century, tell stories of individuals who renounced their faith and made deals with the devil, only to be saved through repentance and the intervention of the Virgin Mary. These were cautionary tales, emphasizing the power of redemption and the dangers of despair. They were about personal spiritual struggle, not a widespread conspiracy. So when did this change? The shift began in the late Middle Ages. As the Church consolidated its power, its view of heresy became more rigid. Thinkers and theologians started to frame dissent and unorthodox beliefs not just as simple error, but as active malicious rebellion against God, orchestrated by the devil himself. This is where the idea of the pact gained its terrifying momentum. It transformed the witch from a village healer or a practitioner of folk magic into an enemy combatant in a cosmic war between good and evil. The pact was no longer just a personal failing. It became the central act of becoming a witch. It was seen as a deliberate, formal ceremony. Inquisitors and demonologists began to write extensively about this process, creating detailed, horrifying, and entirely fabricated accounts. According to their manuals, the pact involved several key steps. First, there was the explicit renunciation of the Christian faith. The aspiring witch would have to reject God, trample on the cross, and blaspheme against the sacraments. This was followed by a vow of obedience to the devil. The individual would pledge their unwavering loyalty, promising to serve him and carry out his wicked designs on earth. This often involved a ceremony, sometimes depicted as taking place at a witches' Sabbath or Black Sabbath, a nocturnal gathering where witches were said to meet with demons. Here, they would kiss the devil's posterior as a sign of fealty, a grotesque parody of the respectful kiss given to a lord or bishop. This act, known as the osculum infame, or the infamous kiss, was meant to show complete submission. Then came the material aspects of the deal. In exchange for their soul, which would be claimed upon their death, the witch received certain benefits. These weren't always grand powers like flying or shape-shifting, though those were part of the lore. Often, the promised rewards were more mundane. The ability to make a neighbor's cow go dry, to cause a hailstorm that would ruin a rival's crops, or to concoct a potion that would make someone fall in or out of love. The pact often promised a familiar, a demonic spirit in the form of an animal like a black cat, a toad, or a dog, to assist the witch in their magic. Finally, the pact was sealed. Demonologists claimed this was often done in writing, with the witch signing their name in a devil's book, sometimes using their own blood to make the contract binding. The devil would then place his mark on the witch's body, a spot that was said to be insensitive to pain. This devil's mark became a crucial piece of evidence during the witch trials. Witch-finders would search the bodies of the accused, pricking them with needles. Any spot that didn't bleed or cause pain was considered proof of a demonic pact. The popularization of these ideas was explosive, thanks in large part to the printing press. The most infamous book on the subject was the Malleus Maleficarum, or the Hammer of Witches, published in 1487. Written by two German inquisitors, Heinrich Kramer and Jacob Sprenger, this book became a bestseller. It was a comprehensive guide on how to identify, prosecute, and punish witches. The Malleus laid out the theology of witchcraft in brutal detail, insisting that women were more susceptible to the devil's temptations due to their supposed weaker nature and insatiable carnal lust. The book legitimized and systematized the paranoia. It gave magistrates and laypeople a framework for their fears, turning suspicion into certainty and accusation into a death sentence. The Witches' Pact was the cornerstone of this framework. To be accused of witchcraft was to be accused of making this pact. And because the pact was made in secret with a supernatural being, normal rules of evidence didn't apply. Confessions, often extracted under extreme torture, were considered the ultimate proof. Under duress, countless innocent people, mostly women, confessed to these fantastical crimes. They described flying on broomsticks to Sabbaths, dancing with demons, and signing their names in the devil's book. Their confessions, born of agony and despair, were then used as evidence against others, creating a chain reaction of accusations that tore communities apart. The period from the 15th to the 18th century saw tens of thousands of people executed across Europe and the American colonies, all based on the belief in a diabolical conspiracy sealed by a pact. But as the Enlightenment dawned, reason began to challenge superstition. Skeptics pointed out the absurdity of the confessions and the cruelty of the trials. They argued that witchcraft was often a cover for social anxieties, personal vendettas, or mental illness. By the mid-18th century, the witch trials had largely ceased. The legal systems of Europe no longer recognized the Witches' Pact as a crime. However, the idea didn't disappear. It simply moved from the courtroom into the realm of art and literature. The story of Faust, a scholar who sells his soul to the demon Mephistopheles for unlimited knowledge and worldly pleasures, became one of the most enduring legends in Western culture, famously dramatized by Christopher Marlowe and later by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. The Witches' Pact became a powerful metaphor for forbidden ambition, the price of power, and the eternal struggle between human desire and moral consequence. So who created the Witches' Pact? The answer is complex. It wasn't one person or one moment. It was an idea that grew over centuries, nurtured by a mixture of folk belief, theological doctrine, social anxiety, and misogyny. It was shaped by theologians who saw the devil's hand in every misfortune, codified by inquisitors who built a legal machine to persecute it, and ultimately fueled by the fears of ordinary people. It is a dark testament to how a powerful idea, even one with no basis in reality, can have devastating real-world consequences. It reminds us of the danger of mass hysteria and the importance of critical thinking and compassion. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the shadows of history. If you found this fascinating, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more explorations into the strange and forgotten corners of our past. Let me know in the comments what historical mystery you'd like me to unravel next. Until then, stay curious.